Hello and welcome back to the British Football Guy. Apologies that I've been out for the last week and a half. Allergies have been a bit of a nightmare and haven't really been able to talk, and I was very cranky. Excuse me. So this week we're actually going to roll in the bet previews for tomorrow on the NFL with another episode, which I'm calling the Fantasy Football Running Back Conundrum. Mainly, I have been stung particularly hard this year, and I'm going to run through some ideas that can really just salvage your season rather than just thinking, well, fuck, there goes a lot of money and fun that I'm going to have on Sundays. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Additionally, we've got quite a lot of episodes that are coming up. Ben's going to be back, Logan's going to come in, and might even get TJ when we're in Austin next weekend. So some of the episodes to look out for is the best and worst fans in the NFL, and also the best fans compared to soccer. Who's better fans, soccer fans or NFL fans? Additionally, we're going to do a season review so far, best and worst stadiums, best and worst mascots, and then one that I'm really looking forward to is our Christmas present guide, and looking for things like Travis Kelce action figures and Paddy Mahomes' Baby No Cry. So some good ideas for Christmas presents coming up. So lots to come in over the next few weeks. So, but let's talk firstly about our sponsor, which is from Matthew Ryan, he plays for a team in Georgia, Atlanta Falcons, I believe. And he's coming out with a brand of dairy products called Matty Ice Creams. So Matty Ice Creams, and he has a particularly great flavor, which is Georgia Peach Cream. So Matty Ice Georgia Peach Cream. So thank you for that, Matt Ryan, for sponsoring this episode. So let's talk about the running back conundrum. I've probably cried about it on here before. There was one season I was heading back from London to, I think it was flying back to Denver or Austin. Anyway, and I got my time difference completely messed up, and it was a championship game, and Todd Gurley was questionable. But I picked up CJ Anderson, who was going to replace him, and I didn't put him in because it was questionable. I thought, well, I'll have about 30 minutes as soon as I touch down. It's the first thing I'm going to do. And when I touched down, the game had already started, and he was out, and CJ Anderson was playing instead of him, and I lost the championship game. If CJ Anderson had been put in, then I would have won the game. So firstly, in fantasy football, what do we think about the autofill rule? So if you think about your bench, and so for example, I had Chris Godwin in on Thursday night, and he got about just under 10 points. But I had Antonio Brown on my bench, and he got 26. What do we feel about the kind of the autofill? Is if you have a wide receiver that's done better, it just automatically goes in there, or does that take away from the strategy? Personally, think it takes away from the strategy. In the Premier League fantasy version for soccer that just started this year, they have that autofill. So if you do have a player that gets more points, they're just going to put them in for you, and you're going to just managing that roster. But like I said, I think it takes some of the strategy away. So not necessarily a fan of that, but it is one kind of idea. Now, what else I've been hit by is I'm in 4 leagues this year, and it's the most I've ever been in. But one thing that I try to do, if possible, is have the same players in all of my league where it's possible. And again, I don't like playing against teams that have one of my players on another league, and then I'm just hoping that they do well in one league and not that it doesn't work. Like I've got Cooper Kupp on one of my teams, and I'm playing against Cooper Kupp. Same with TJ Hawkinson. So I try and make it pretty standard across the board. So I have Jalen Hurts in 2 of my leagues. I have Kyler Murray in 2 of my leagues. I have Kyle Pitts in 2 of my leagues. Deebo Samuel in 2. I have Christian McCaffrey in 2. I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire in 2. But that's not across all 4, because you're dealing with things like I'm in an 8-person league, I'm in a 10-person league, and then a 12-person league. I think the other one's a 12 as well. So it doesn't really work. But I've seen that seasons end for people very quickly with these injuries, and especially in a 12-person league, there's not much. It's slim pickings to pick anybody up, especially at running back. Now, I think I have this feeling every year. It's like, running backs, they always get hurt, and this year always feels like it's the worst one for injuries. And I was doing a little bit of research. So because I have McCaffrey, I actually put him. I thought, right, he's going to start this weekend. He's back. That's great. Season can get going. He's out for another 3 weeks. So he's had one game and then he's out for 3 weeks. Last season, I think he played 3 games and he was out for the season. McCaffrey's been the number 1 pick in fantasy for the last 2 years straight. Now, I was really stupid to pick McCaffrey in both leagues. Most people are like, oh, it's just a no-brainer. But there was somebody else that I think was waiting in the wings that should have been, I guess, selected or even touted as a number 1, and that was Derrick Henry. And I was looking about some of the names in running backs and why it's so hard to get that first pick right. So McCaffrey the last 2 years, and for the last 2 years he's got injured. If anybody can remember the season before that, which should have been 2019, the number 1 pick was Saquon Barkley. Saquon had a pretty bad injury, not just in 2019, but also in 2020, and he's also injured now in 2021. So somebody that's been a recent number 1 pick is also injured. We go back a little bit further, and you have Todd Gurley, who was number 1 pick, I think, in like 2018 or 2017, had a good year. Todd Gurley's not even on a team now. He's not active. Before that, Le'Veon Bell. He had a year off, so thinking, okay, he's going to add a little bit more of his shelf life on, comes back to the Jets, doesn't really do anything, and then he leaves, goes to KC, doesn't do anything there, and now he's not active. So you're looking at all these players for the number 1 pick, the most amount of draft capital that you have, and the years gone by, they've either been injured or they just don't play. So again, I think the strategy, when you look at this, you really have to look at the injuries and things that go into it a little bit more. And if you are number 1 pick, maybe not go for that person that's touted to be number 1. Like I said, for me, Derrick Henry is the man that I should have chosen in both of those leagues. And I think he will be, will have the highest rushing yards this year. But there's another trend. And when I was looking at some of the analytics on this, it seems to peak. So, and it's a 2-year spread. So I think in 2017 and 2016 and 2017, Ezekiel Elliott had the highest rushing yards. It's insane to think he's been around the league this long. And I think he's doing pretty well this year. He's not doing too bad. But is he going to get to the top of his game again? Maybe. I don't think he is. But he's still playing at least. Gurley, 2018, 2019, no longer playing. Bell, a little bit sooner, kind of around that 16, 15, no longer playing. I even remember when high in the first rounds with Devonta Freeman, as recent ago as 2018, somebody picked him with his first pick. I think Devonta actually has been picked up, maybe via the Vikings, but again, not really in that space. So as I'm looking at this, who else could you have gone for this year? Safe bets, Eckler, he catches the ball, and I do have Eckler in one of my league. Nick Chubb, but Nick Chubb's been injured. He's hurt at the moment. Chris Carson, I've got him in 2 leagues injured. Dalvin Cook has been hurt for a few games this year. Kamara's been hurt for a few games this year. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who I've got in 2 leagues, he's on IR. It's unbelievable. And it's who do you pick up? You try and look, well, who's replacing them? Who's going to be the workhorse? So like Chuba Hubbard as one of them. And then I think it's Alex Madison takes a lot of the share. So it's tough. It's really tough. And I think if you do have those players out for a long period of time, your season's pretty much done because a wide receiver depth chart is quite big. So I was thinking about, how do you make it fair? How can you keep that excitement going on? And I've got a couple of ideas. Firstly, you just have one running back, especially in 12 people leagues, because it's like with injuries, it's like just having one quarterback. When you used to, I've done a couple of 2 quarterback leagues, and it's interesting, but it's really tough, and it's not necessarily been the year of the quarterback either at the moment. So one person running back league, that's something that I've never seen. I don't know if you can do it, but I think just in looking at who's been injured of late, and I think I got karma. I was definitely giving on one of our leagues, Lexi, she had Saquon Barkley, and I was kind of just berating her, saying, "Oh, we shouldn't have Saquon." And then I also lost that match, and then Christian McCaffrey is out for another 3 weeks. So yeah, definitely deserve that. So either have one running back, or the other alternative is an injuries reserve handicap point system. Hear me out on this one. So they have to be out for, a period of 6 weeks or so. Or just go on IR. So like Christian McCaffrey, and his first game he got like 23 points. So you will have a handicap of 33% of that. So let's say about 7 points. So if you did pick up Hubbard and he gets 10 points, you're going to end on 17 because that's that first round draft pick capital. You only get that handicap for your first round pick, nothing else. So if you got like DK Metcalf in your second round and he was on IR, then you're not going to use that. Or alternatively, you could do it as, okay, you get an IR handicap and you just choose a player that's gone on IR and do that. So that's the other piece of it. The kind of the caveat with this, let's say Chuba Hubbard actually does get 25 points, then it's more than what McCaffrey was averaging over, like, say, the first game. Or if we look at, say, Saquon Barkley, and he averaged over the first 3 games 24 points, then you take that number and 33% of that. So that's kind of my idea around that, is like kind of you'd add that on. But if the person that you've put in to replace them in the starting lineup gets more than that 24 points or 21 points, then you don't get the handicap on top of it. It goes up to that 24, and that is it. I'm sure there's probably some challenges with doing that, but let me know any kind of drawbacks with that. Alternatively, kind of in the real life world, what I'm looking at now with the kind of the running back conundrum is, who can I trade? Who's potentially going to have a big game? In terms of who can I pick up on the waivers? There's people like Myles Gaskin. I kind of brought him in for one. Some games he might do 23 points. Other games he might get less than a point, and it's kind of one of those things. And I know injuries happen to everybody, but there's definitely those seasons where you seem to get them more than others. So you've got the waiver wire. The other piece is a little bit of trading strategy. Now, I have McCaffrey on 2 of my leagues. I'm trying to pick him up in the other 2 now because he's out for another 3. Can I entice them with a Tyler Lockett, like a decent wide receiver, plus somebody like Javonte Williams, or more of a third run kind of running back? That's what I'm putting out there now. Just thinking, if this, when he does come back from IR, is he going to be good? But also know there's a risk that he might not come back at all. He didn't last season, and I took that risk and it failed. So there are some strategies out there, but with the people that have gone on IR, I have Michael Thomas in my IR slot for 2 of my leagues, just because I was hoping if he comes back, he could be absolutely dominate. And again, like we did a show, Logan and I, about the forgotten men. This is a time of the year where these injuries really start to be, especially on running backs. Chris Carson, I don't know what he's going to be doing next year. Really tough as those injuries come out. Same with poor Saquon. That was a big piece of bad luck. But anyway, the running back conundrum, it's an issue. So the 2 pieces I'd put out there is you just have a 1 running back league, especially in kind of leagues of 12 and more, or you have the handicap. For anybody that goes on IR, you can choose the handicap, and it gives you a third of their points on top of whichever people you replace them. Okay, so that's a running back conundrum done. Let's talk about my picks for this Sunday. And apologies that this is going out late on Saturday. So, okay, the safe bet. I realized in earnings that I could have made if the Chiefs had won this year was about $1,500 from about $30 down. So I only lost $30 from the Chiefs, but I could have made $1,500 on what would have been a safe bet. And I think I had about 8 picks last weekend. And I'm pretty sure I was close to buying stuff online that I didn't need on Amazon. and it was Chiefs against the Bills. I knew it was going to be a tough game. And actually, as a bit of an insurance policy, I started putting money on the Bills to win. Now, I was going to win $750 or $5 with this. I think I got a bet on the Steelers, and that came in with a few others, kind of the last kicks of the game, got my way. So I was just like, yep, this is happening. Chiefs, they've thrown a couple of games. They're not going to do any worse now. And yep, they did again. So I was like, at some point, I stopped betting on the Chiefs. It's not this week. And my safe bets that I've gone for, the Rams to win, the Cowboys, the Packers, Chiefs, and the Bills. The Bills is a Monday night game, so if you don't want to wait all that night long, just take the Bills off. But just looking at this, Packers against the Bears, Packers have kind of found form. I can't see the Bears stopping them. They've had some good games recently, but yeah. And then Cowboys, I'm happily gonna bet on the Cowboys all season long. So anyway, that's a safe bet. Rams, Cowboys, Packers, Chiefs, and Bills. $10 will get you 51, which is actually a nice one. It's usually $30 that we'll get back from 10. On the speculative bet, I've got the Colts who are against the Texans, the Steelers, and the Vikings for that one, and $10 will get you 30. On the upset bet, I've got the Cards and the Chargers. They're both around about, I think it's like 135 plus 135 on the money line. So Cards against Cleveland and Chargers, I believe against the Ravens. So that one's not bad. $10 will get you 55. And then a wild one is the Lions, Jags, and Panthers all to win. And $5 will get you 66, or $10 will get you 122. Lions haven't won a game. Jags haven't won a game. They have to win at some point. They're not going to do Cleveland's. And I think both of these teams have a shot at that. Jags, off the top of my head, they're playing Miami. And the Lions, I can't remember, but I think it's feasible that they could win when I put this in. Let's just have a quick look of who the Lions are playing right here. Okay, so the Lions are playing the Bengals. And actually, I've put money on a parlay for the Bengals to win as well. But in this wild one, I think there's a chance. Maybe Burrow throws an interception or two. But yeah, they'll win. And I do like the coach. I think he's got a lot of passion. Jared Goff isn't a terrible quarterback. So those are the picks. So we have the safe one, the speculative one, the upset, and an added one of the wild one. That's your lot for this week, but Ben and myself will be back with some more episodes shortly. Have a great weekend.